It's Miles.
It's Trouble.
It's the Make It Make Sense podcast.
Yay.
And right off rip, you were saying something right before we started, and I want to get right into it because I've heard some things about Einstein. A lot of people think he's a genius. I'm sure he is. But I've also heard that maybe he was strategically, he was kind of like he wasn't the real deal. He was kind of put in place, so to speak.
Like a plant?
I mean, now that's something you mentioned, and I'm very interested to hear exactly why you think that, because I don't think you're alone in that thought.
So before I go into my thoughts and feelings, I'm kind of interested on what you might have heard, because this is something we've never talked about at all, like even offset.
Right. Yeah. So basically, I haven't deep dived into it, so I'm not, this is all other people's, but they say that he was put in front of us by fill in the blank, whoever that might be, to feed us this information, but he wasn't as spectacular and so smart as he was put in history to be.
Correct. Okay.
Now, beyond that, that's about all I've heard. So, yeah.
Okay. So, well, what we know for sure is that regardless of how smart he was book-wise or anything of that nature, what he had going on in his personal life does lead you to think he might have been a lot more off than we might have thought.
Let me guess. He was a sexual deviant. What is it? Deviant? Deviant.
I mean, maybe you could put it that way. He married his cousin.
So gross. No, what I meant was there. You hear like a lot of these geniuses will get like smoke. Well, there's one in particular. I think it's
Oppenheimer was like that. They say Oppenheimer had hoes.
Oh yeah. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I did. It was actually a really good movie.
Okay, I need to see it. I haven't seen it, but that's not actually who I was thinking of. I was thinking of I think it's Bell. I think he would actually smoke opium and get hoes.
Huh? Alexander Graham Bell, the telephone maker?
No. Benjamin Franklin. Franklin. Yes. He would get prostitutes and just smoke opium. And it's
Are you shocked? He was one of the original good boys in the club.
Oh, we never really went completely down that road before.
Well, I saw only so much we're going down that road.
Okay, but I digress. Einstein was also, I'm assuming, kind of similar to that.
Well, I don't know how far it went with the prostitutes and all that, but I do know he married his cousin. Do know he didn't have a license. They say he was still urinating in the bed as an adult. A lot of these weird things. I mean, but
those sound like the decisions of someone that gets hammered on liquor all the time.
But he didn't. They never say he drank like that. They say he did get high, but they never specify what he got high off of.
Ooh, I wonder. What do you think it was?
He said it was something to alter his mind.
Did he create it? Motherfucker made magic drugs.
So let's start by talking about the reality of just how smart Einstein himself was based on what he said.
Okay.
He said he did not create the theory of relativity.
He admitted that.
Yes, he said that, and he said it blatantly, but of course we won't get taught this in school. He said that because apparently he used to get high on whatever it was. Maybe it was opium, maybe it was weed, who knows what it was. But he used to get high and go into these altered states, and in those altered states, he would kind of get information or get new ideas or something like that.
I bet you it was DMT.
Now, you know how they always had him smoking a pipe. Whatever was in that pipe was apparently what used to get him fucked up.
Oh,
so okay. I don't know, maybe, but
it sounds like a DMT thing, but who knows? Yeah,
who knows? Because I don't think they ever really said what it was.
Right.
But apparently he had a real big trip one night. He seen some. Pardon me. He saw some beings that came to him and presented him all of the information that involves the theory of relativity.
100% DMT. Guaranteed. I bet money. That's exactly the experience people say. They have beings talk to them.
But ain't nobody else coming out that bitch with the theory of relativity.
Well, his brain. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. His brain is in tune. So like earlier, this no one will know what we're talking about, but the airplane.
Yeah.
Like my brain is geared to make connections like that. You know,
I don't think somebody who can't even drive a car is thinking that deep to put.
You couldn't drive a car?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't. This is what I'm saying. How does somebody who has all of these kind of weird things about your personal life that, again, we're not here to just judge you, but these do not show markers of an overall intelligent person. There's not a ton of things in life that Einstein is credited to as far as being a genius other than things involving the theory of relativity, time, space, all of that. How the atom bomb was created based on his teachings and all of these kind of things. But all of that still revolves around the theory of relativity.
So that was his. What was he like?
That's that E equals MC squared.
Right, but was he a teacher? It's at a university, or where'd he even come from?
I guess you would say a physicist.
He was a physicist. Okay, so
I think.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But what I do know is that he's taught to us in science in a very almost like Jordan-like way.
Like a
you
deity.
know what I mean? Yeah, like he's
the only scientist I ever knew as a kid.
Now, we know more about him than Tesla, but Tesla was really creating all kind of amazing things.
Oh, man. Yeah.
We don't get taught about Tesla coils and things like that. We don't get taught that he actually is the one that created the electrical current, alternate current electricity that we use every single day. They tell us about Edison creating a light bulb, but they don't mention that Tesla was Edison's protege, and he told him, hey, this direct electricity is going to burn out faster. Boom, let's use this. He presents the idea. Edison tries to steal the idea, take it to JP Morgan. JP Morgan's pissed off. He's like, where the hell are you even getting this idea from? Like, why would I want something that lasts?
Right. Yep.
Like, we can't make money off people if it lasts. Keep the direct energy, electricity, and whoever came up with this idea, get rid of it. Now Tesla goes on, and then he's the first person to light up a whole city. But we don't hear about him in the same way that we hear about somebody like Einstein.
Did you notice with Tesla, the only time they ever even mentioned anything about that is his low light? What is the one thing you always hear? He went to the World's Fair. He had an elephant. He killed the elephant with was it direct current? That was what he did? And it scared everybody.
Yeah.
But that's the only story you hear about Tesla. They don't talk about how amazing the technology was.
Yeah, and then how much other things he did that surpassed that mistake. But they don't tell you that Thomas Edison created the electric chair. They don't like to highlight that part in school.
Right. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so it's all of these little things, So back to the Einstein thing. What even got me down this path of Einstein being a plant wasn't necessarily an original thought. Like, oh, they was duping us with him. Einstein wasn't really that smart. I had my own theories based on certain other things I had. Like, how does a person do all of this and in the meantime come up with all of these great ideas? Then I see Einstein himself say, I didn't really come up with these ideas. They were presented to me in an altered state of mind from beings. Okay. He's never created nothing else like that in his life. He didn't come and top it. So how much can we credit Einstein himself for coming up with this when he himself said he didn't? So this leads me down this path of something that I learned about today. There's a person, his name is Henry Bergson.
Okay.
And he's like a French physicist, philosopher, scientist. He did a lot of different things. But what they were talking about, what he was famous for was time. Now, all of us have had this conversation, and we've all talked about this one particular conversation. Matter of fact, me and my girl was just talking about this conversation the other day about how the older you get, the faster time seems to go by.
Oh, yeah.
Well, back in the early 1920s, you have this man, Henry Bergson, who breaks down this entire, what we would consider a conundrum, and he breaks it down all the way to its minute level to make it make complete sense.
Hold on, he breaks down why we perceive time slower or faster as we get older?
Yes. and it is probably the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
Does it make sense when you read it? Do you go,
It makes total sense. Well,
oh.
first off, it's in French, so you
Mhm.
have to get the translations and all of that if you want to actually read it.
A good thing you know French. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oui. Bonjour.
A French toast.
A baguette.
Yeah, damn. That was the one I was going to say.
But like, so him and Einstein actually had a big debate. And the debate was about the idea of the theory of relativity.
Mhm.
Because Bergson is saying you view time as numerical and it's cold and things like that, but
Mhm.
time is not linear.
Mhm.
Time is very liquid in a way.
Okay.
Time is not based on numbers more than it's based on actual life things, like your experiences dictate time more than actual time itself, because time isn't a concept. It's just a
it's a man-made fabricated thing. Yeah.
To put it in perspective, he talks about how like you get older, time seems to go faster. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he talks about your experiences. The way that your brain works is that it magnifies new experiences over repetitive experiences. Right?
Okay, like major events.
Yeah, but your brain is hardwired to do this. He was
Right.
talking about how it registers in the hippocampus, and he breaks down each part of your brain,
Mhm.
how it triggers these different things.
Mhm.
But in layman's terms, if for the first time you got your first kiss, it's
Mhm.
gonna feel different than your 1,000th kiss,
Right.
because it's not a new sensation. This isn't a new feeling. This isn't a new,
Mhm.
It's not to say that the kiss doesn't still feel good,
Mhm.
but it's not a new sensation. It's not something new. So
Mhm.
the 1,000th kiss doesn't sit in your head like your first
Like
kiss.
the first. Yeah. Yeah.
And we can talk about this in so many different aspects of life.
Mhm.
The first time you felt real pain, or the first time you might have broken a bone that somebody hasn't had that experience before. They can't even wrap their head around you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I 100% do. That's the cruel thing about trauma, is trauma burns so deep that it affects people. It could happen when they're 3 years old. Well,
Mhm.
I mean, more so when they're can really, like say more like 10 or up.
Yeah.
Something traumatic happens there. I mean, they have to fight their whole life past
Mhm.
that one moment.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something he talked about,
Mhm.
how trauma directly affects our perception of time.
Oh.
And
Okay.
trauma in multiple ways,
Mhm.
like the impact of a moment,
Mhm.
how that affects our perception of time. He says, think about it. If the whole idea that time goes by fast, you always goes by fast when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Well, the reason that is because your brain is experiencing this new thing,
Mhm.
and it is locked into all of the new stimuli that it is being presented.
Okay.
So it doesn't have time to focus on time.
Oh, it's recording new things. So it's not focused. It's not okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, prime example, on the other side, you're at work all day.
Mhm.
Work might be slow.
Mhm.
You're not looking at the clock like, damn, wish the clock would go by faster.
Mhm.
You have already put yourself into the trap of time because of that, because you're now cognizantly considering it. You're thinking about it.
Mhm.
Prime example is same thing. If you're at work and you get hella busy, you'll look up and be like, oh crap, an hour went by. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
kind of thing, it plays out on a mass scale the higher you go throughout life,
Okay.
as far as the level of impact that each experience has.
Let me ask you that just for clarification.
Yeah.
So I understand if something big happens, a car wreck, boom, you'll always some people actually say time moves slower. Then that's a whole other conversation. But that they will it's something that you'll never forget. It'll always burn in there. There's nothing that can override it.
Mm-hmm.
So with how does that? Maybe you're building into that. So where's the connection with that pathway, and then with the pathway of losing track of time when you're seeing a new experience or working, and you're just preoccupied with work and time flies by?
So basically, the reason that this idea was brought up was to basically get people to realize that, like, this is going to lead to kind of what he was saying and pivot also into a thought that I had from what he was saying. But he was talking about, like, understanding that the value of life is valuing new experiences, because this is what actually rewires your brain to not fall into a monotonous pattern. Because of the way that we are as humans, we are very easy to fall into monotonous patterns, and it turns us into automated, like, to autonomous beings. And before we know it, time just and then you're old and you're like, holy shit, I lost this many years. And then you think, I lost all of these years. And he was saying, but if you can go back and look at your life and point back at all of the experiences that you had throughout your life, you don't feel like that when you reach that same age. Even though that same time went by. Time has nothing to do with, it's not numbers or anything like that. In order to stretch time or to shrink time, it's all a matter of your life experience. So time itself is a warm thing. It's not a calculated thing that you can just calculate by numbers. Even though you can order time by numbers and you can use it for categorization or to help organize, it itself can't be bound by those numbers. And the example he used is twins. If two twins are born on the exact same time, they're twins. They're gonna look alike. They're gonna have the same genetic makeup, whatever. But if you send one twin into space, they're technically traveling through time.
Right.
That twin is gonna have a completely different experience
based on Einstein's theory.
Not Einstein's, like the reality of the world.
Okay.
Like, if you go to the moon and come back, the only thing you're experiencing is what's happening on that trip there and back.
Okay.
You're not experiencing really a whole bunch of, you're not going to new buildings. You're not going to da-da-da. You're having your own experience. By the time you get back, you don't feel that much has changed. But the whole world can look different around you. People because are now completely different.
Is that because the lack of stimulation when you're in this black void of space?
To a degree, but it's more of just the way that time itself is an illusion based on trying to just the way that we view it.
Yeah, because time really isn't a thing, right? It's just a way of measurement.
Yes, because again, like, it was just showed in the movie Interstellar a lot, like how you can go to a planet deep in space.
Was that the Matthew McConaughey movie?
Yeah,
I just watched it 2 weeks ago for the first time.
Okay,
holy
so now
shit.
It's clicking.
Yeah,
you see how when they went to the one planet, they can be there for 5 minutes, but on a whole,
it's an hour per 10 minutes or something in the movie.
And each planet that they land on is different, like that.
I didn't even pick up on that. I thought, okay, all right,
yeah. That's why they were timing it.
Yeah, and when he saw his video of his kids, and they were like,
yeah, wow, this is all it in a nutshell.
Okay.
But this is Einstein's theory of relativity in cold, but that is also what he's saying is it's not just that. It's not just the numbers. It's not just the calculations. There's so much more things to time. So the reason I even cared about that, or that I really like triggered my mind, was because it made me think about this 9 to 5 schedule that we're on.
Right.
It made me think about how many of these things that have been put into the human existence that makes us naturally autonomous. And then we end up just accelerating through these years of life with no experience whatsoever. So you now have an effective group of people who are just zombies that are just time warping from beginning to end of their life cycles.
Yeah.
With no experiences.
They're just hitting checkpoints.
And he was talking about how that directly, how after the brain doesn't get new stimuli for a while, not trying anything, even if nothing's wrong, it naturally brings like its own bad ramifications, because the body just becomes autonomous. The body just naturally, this is it. You don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
He was talking about the idea of getting up and going to do the particular task every day. Eventually, you lock into that task no more. You don't even think about doing it. It just becomes you. But you're not getting any experience from that.
Right.
You're not getting anything out of it. That time that same 8 hours that you're doing that autonomous thing,
Mm-hmm.
you get used to that rhythm, but 8 hours going out and about exploring the world,
Mm-hmm.
think of how far you can drive from Daytona Beach, Florida in 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're sitting in your workplace and 8 hours is,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? It's
But
the
you're getting,
perception of time.
yeah, that's true. It's true. And we're rewarded for being robots by getting money,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So you get money, but you spend all of your majority of your life collecting money, but how many experience? That's why I really envy people that are like can make money and they still have like enough
personal life.
personal life. Yeah, like they can they like planning a trip to Europe and like all that. Like I've always, even at this age, still go, man, I still fucking get caught up in the moment of working. And then there's always like little extra, maybe I've set these traps in front of me, not calling my kids traps, but like having these other responsibilities in front of me to where I'm always trying to feel like I'm putting out fires and I got to make more money because, kids need this, you got to pay for that, this and that. And you're always just, my mind is always focused on working and like checking boxes off.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, him talking about that makes me think about, like I was saying, from like how we're all on this autonomous schedule and so many things are like that.
Mm-hmm.
What if there's other people? I mean, he's talking about it in this direct way in the early 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
What if there's forces and other beings, other individuals who were completely aware of this too, and this is why they put us in this type of autonomous situation, because it kills the spirit.
What do you mean?
Like, think about it. We talked about the I think we talked about it in one of the original Time War episodes. We were talking
Mm-hmm.
about the calendar
Mm-hmm.
and how Caesar literally executed over 50 million people to make this calendar that we use every day the calendar.
I don't think we ever talked about that.
Okay, well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all of those, each day is an homage to a different god. Monday,
What?
Moon Day.
I had no idea.
Saturday, Saturn Day. Sunday.
So those are all Greek gods?
To a degree, they correlate back to those kind of things, like Saturday, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that I like Saturday, I think they call that I think Saturday was originally supposed to be the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that word translates, but I forget exactly how.
I think it is still the Sabbath for Jewish
people. So it matters for the Jewish people because they follow like a different like belief system, and not every Jewish person believes this. There's a different section where they call it Kabbalah.
Oh, okay.
And in the Kabbalah,
not to be confused with a Kabbalion.
That's the book.
Okay.
Yes, the Kabbalah itself is another book, but it's also, it's like they have like a Kabbalah tree, like it's like a hierarchy of power and spiritual energy and all of that kind of stuff. But that's where that's the same kind of spiritual scale that is used for the rituals in Hollywood and all of that too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it all ties together. Now, I'm not saying that anybody that is aware of the Kabbalah energy or anything like that, or understand or has seen the tree or whatever it is, because that's where the idea of the tree of life comes from. They actually call it the tree of life.
From the Kabbalah?
Yeah, because it's set up like its own like energy tree. It's a picture, you know, you can use it, and they follow it, and it gets really, really deep.
Okay.
I don't even, yeah.
But
nonetheless, a part of the higher ranking members, they worship Saturn. Like
the planet Saturn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the song I did where I was like, black box, black cube, blue screen television telling you that what you watching you. Right before I said it, I said, I know you don't understand what I'm saying, but I know they do. The reason I was saying that is because if you do a little research, you'll find out about Black Cube. You'll find out about all of these different iterations where they're homaging a black cube or a black hexagon.
Okay.
And you find out that on one of the poles on Saturn, there's really a black hexagon. It's a constant storm that just goes all on and on and on.
Like a physical, thunderstorm?
Yeah. And there's a telescope pictures of it being shaped like a hexagon. But how the fuck could a person on planet Earth know that?
And this was known long before telescopes and all that?
Yes. And no telescope can see that.
Yeah.
Like, long before deep space.
Can you see that now? Can you see the storm?
I mean, you can look it up and they can probably have a picture of it, yeah.
Okay, so we have physically seen what they were talking about.
Oh, yeah. And they were talking about it years before it was ever, but that is a big part of the worship. Think about it again. Saturn worship, Satan worship, all of it has a very close ramification, and all of it kind of has that, like, it comes from the same energy tree.
Does that mean that Saturn might have a society there of things?
I don't hold nothing past anything.
Yeah. But I'm just meant if any of the writings might lend themselves to say that there might be something
they
there.
Worshiping something up there.
Something there, right?
I mean, they even from, certain studies that you can follow, if you follow enough of it, you'll find out that the reptilian beings, a lot of them, the nefarious ones, a lot of them believe in that too. A lot of them charge their dark magic energy from that as well.
They're the ones Saturn,
and they're the ones that taught the initiates, and that whole conversation gets very deep.
Wow. So to bring it all back around with Einstein, so what was your conclusion about him after learning about all this recently?
Oh, like, basically it's just like, it's pretty clear that they didn't want this other idea of time to be common knowledge amongst the people, because we start thinking along those lines. It's not so easy to put us on this 9 to 5. It's not so easy to put us in this system that we get put into to just basically live until we die. But nobody ever actually lives. And as you realize, the further and further we go in the future, the more and more and more they're pushing that. You know what I'm saying? The more and more and more it's becoming a reality that we're just casually walking through this life, and look around you. The average person don't have money, like you were saying, to just go do trips. Your family has to have money and have that line for most people to have that opportunity in life. Now you're taking the middle class away completely. Now it's just the haves versus the have-nots, and that's what the goal has been for years.
Yeah.
And it's just like, mindset and spiritual awakeness and vibration, all of that overrides all of that bullshit. They're aware of that. They have CIA documents that show the power of, if you let the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain link together, the type of overall vibration that it gives a human being. And we kind of touched on that before. The left brain thinking how they don't like you thinking creatively too much, because it unlocks other circuitry inside of your brain. Like Bergson was talking about how to break out of the system of time per se, is to just, like, he has a hack of like doing 3 new things a week or 3 new things a day.
I was gonna ask, how does someone break this cycle? So okay.
So something along those lines, just do something new. And he was like, and it doesn't have to be major. The brain remembers anything that is outside of the pattern. So if you wake up every day and eat eggs, bacon, and toast, wake up every day, eat eggs, sausage, and toast with blueberry jelly. You know what I mean?
I totally can see how that would be effective, because I know my brain does. I'm not assuming I think like everybody does, but for me, I am very pattern. I need patterns and repetition for me to, like, be productive, quote unquote, whatever that word is that we created, productive, to get the things that want me to have things done, how to address it and be on time. So I can see where it sounds crazy to say in front of the world, but it's for me, like, my breakfast. Like, if I know what like, I have a routine what I want to eat for breakfast, and if I shake that up a little bit, it gives me a very tiny drop of, like, anxiety, right?
Yeah, and we all kind of start doing that. Like for instance, we all know somebody, and somebody who's watching this who probably does it, where you pull up to your job and you probably got a parking lot at your job, and you just come to the same parking space every day, even though there's no assigned parking.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Like, why?
Is it because I guess it's because the brain.
It's what he's talking about. Even without the time concept of it. You get so used to being on a rhythm. We are rhythm creatures,
and I think it makes us better.
Circadian.
Is that isn't necessarily bad though, right? Because it's a natural thing. The brain, I think the brain likes the rhythm in that because you need rhythm. Like even if you go back to cavemen, like you have to know the dance to kill a fucking bear or whatever, right? You need the repetition. You just elite athletes, you need that repetition, but that isn't like the driving factor for happiness.
No, right? I think there's a fine line to walk. Okay. With that. Like,
I think we're saying the same thing too, but didn't say it right. But what are you saying?
No. I think I hear what you're saying. Like, I think repetition and patterns and pattern recognition and things like that are very important. Just as an example, real quick, I was watching a Neil deGrasse Tyson thing, and they were talking about like time in a way, but they were talking about like being able to extend life cycles and things like that, and all of these different factors.
Speaking of a plant, I don't know about Neil anymore, man, but anyways,
yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. The lady that was on there that was talking was very knowledgeable. She's a scientist of her own, and they were talking about how like basically they're studying how like survival things, like they would have mice and they would put them through a certain set of tests, and they would find that over the course of the next couple generations that give birth, they would have physical alterations that would make them more adept to dealing with whatever this issue was that they were now facing, even though it was a completely man-made issue.
Okay.
Like they would put a smell in the room and then shock the mice. After a while, the mice start realizing every time they smell that smell, they get shocked.
Yeah.
So over the course of time, and they're like, this is happening within months of offspring. Couple of batches down the line, they have more like oral. I forget what the word is, but it's like it's like there's sensors to detect certain smells, but they have more of them.
Oh, it produced more of them.
Yes. Wow. And it specifically produced the ones that would give it the better chance of noticing that particular almond smell.
And I think, okay, so I see where the divide is, because that's important. That's a survival thing that the body does, but it can be abused if people know how to manipulate it.
Yes, yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
That's where the books on dark psychology and all of these things come from. The brain can be easily hacked.
Yes. Very easily hacked.
Yes. And then when you have someone who's already on this repetitive pace and they've become already almost zombified, it's very easy to be like, hey, come here, here's another path to go down and zombify you some more. It just looks like it's better than the other side.
Yeah.
Like, all of these jobs are presenting you to work for them, and then they pitch so hard how you got to be dedicated to the job. Just be dedicated to the job. Give everything you got to this job, and great things are gonna happen. Literally 99% of the time, the people who dedicate themselves the hardest are good until they say one thing outside of that. Whatever
they're X'd out.
Yeah, all that hard work done.
Yep.
God forbid they die.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it goes down the list, man. So I think I say all this to say is, for anybody listening, please break out of the mundane. We have to shake off the code that's on us, the light code lockdown, as they call it. We have to shake all that off, and the only way to do that is to open the mind and to vibrate at a higher level, to basically re-alkalize all your cells in your body. And I know a lot of people will be like, yeah, he said alkaline diet. That's a totally different conversation. There's so many ways.
Talk about some water.
There's so many ways to,
to adjust,
to raise your frequency. But one of the main ways is your train of thought, the way you think, because
so true, man.
Thoughts are everything.
It's so
your
true.
Thoughts are electrical currents. So
yeah, it's so true. Hey man, would you ever be open? And I've been wanting to do this, to go visit a hypnotist. I'm super interested in hypnosis. and I want to be hypnotized. I want it to happen to me so I can believe it's real. Because if I can believe it's real, then I feel like for me it'll answer a lot of questions.
I would do a past life regression.
I mean, that's deeper than what I was thinking. I was just thinking make you cluck like a chicken, but if you want to go down to the past,
nah, I'm not letting nobody.
If it makes me cluck like a chicken, I don't remember it. That'll blow my mind.
Yeah, nah, I'm straight. I don't want nothing to do with that. I know it's possible.
Guess what? I'll make you cluck like a chicken.
See, pause, man. You gotta watch how you saying that.
How do you
shit.
even figure that out?
I know jits nowadays. They turn anything into a pause.
Yeah, it's true. No
I'd be like you're holding the mic a little close to your mouth.
Oh yeah, the glizzy. That shit kills me. Hey yo,
hey yo.
All right. Well, this is. I think what you said is super, super, super important. I hope this doesn't get lost in the ether because this is something that I've thought about, and this is something that I think will affect us as long as we're alive.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids are going to have these same thoughts. Everybody's been trying to figure it out for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and sharing the information, sharing perspective. I learned about someone new I didn't know about. I didn't know about the French guy.
Yeah.
So that's going to make me deep dive, and I strongly suggest anybody that sees this also does that because that's how we can figure things out and make more sense of stuff. And on that note, on the next episode, I got some multiple things I'm going to unpack that kind of follow along this. That's blew my mind over the past week or two. So can't wait to get into that with you.
Yes,
but
sir.
Till next time.
Yay.